perceive.
知覚する。
What we perceive is not exactly equal to what we receive from our senses. Expect.
予期する。期待する。
A natural disaster often occurs when you least expect it. Intend.
意図する。
I have no idea what Mary intends to do. Request.
要請する。頼む。
He strongly requested an increase in salary. Remind.
思い出させる。
Whenever I hear that song, it reminds me of the days when I was young. Inspire.
触発する。喚起する。
The actions of volunteers can inspire people to help others. Fascinate.
魅了する。
There was scarcely anything she did that did not fascinate me. Emphasize.
強調する。重視する。
To emphasize your own inferiority is polite in Japanese. Recommend.
勧める。
The doctor recommended she do more exercise every day. Propose.
提案する。目論む。結婚を申し込む。
The professor proposed that the student be given a scholarship. Distinguish.
区別する。
At first glance, it is hard to distinguish sugar from salt. Complicate.
複雑にする。
There are many different factors that complicate this system. Transform.
変える。変わる。
Designers transform raw material into a visually appealing product. Credit.
功績などを記する。信じる。
Dmitry Mendeleev credited his discovery of the periodic table to a dream. Reserve.
判断などを保留する。予約する。取っておく。
She reserved judgment on the sensitive issue. Oppose.
反対する。対抗。対比させる。
There are some people who oppose stricter gun control. Deny.
否定する。拒む。
We cannot deny the possibility that he may decline our offer. Reject.
拒否する。
Some people reject scientific ideas that conflict with their religious beliefs. Ban.
禁止する。締め出す。
The use of chemical weapons has been banned internationally. Frighten.
怖がらせる。
At first, the little girl was frightened by her neighbor's big dog. Participate.
参加する。
Patients participate in making decisions about their own medical treatment. Compete.
競う。匹敵する。
Developing countries can compete with developed countries in the new economy. Overcome.
克服する。
With more patience, you could have overcome the hardship. Arise.
生じる。
A very great part of the suffering in this world arises from poverty. Generate.
生み出す。
A project is underway to generate power with giant windmills. Obtain.
得る。
He finally obtained the book he was looking for in the National Library. Employ.
雇う。使う。
She was employed irrespective of her academic background. Import.
輸入する。取り入れる。
Thailand, which used to be 60% covered in forest, now imports wood. Handle.
処理する。論じる。商う。
My advice is that you should not handle everything by yourself. Repair.
修理する。修復する。
She did not know her car had already been repaired. Cure.
治す。除去する。治る。
Cancer can be cured if it is discovered at an early stage. Transport.
輸送する。
We want to design an unmanned plane that can transport objects. Deliver.
配達する。演説、講義をする。子を産む。
She went to the archives to deliver some documents. Rush.
急いでいく。請求に行動する。せき立てる。
I tossed the paper onto my desk and rushed to the scene. Commit. Commit oneself.
または受け身系で深く関わる。罪などを犯す。
He urged his son to commit himself to righting social wrongs. Hate.
ひどく嫌う。残念に思う。
I hate to part with this old car, but it doesn't work anymore. Regret.
後悔する。
I regret saying such terrible things to my brother. Consist.
何々からなる。何々にある。
The nuclear family consists of only parents and their children. Translate.
翻訳する。変える。
Some Japanese words are difficult to translate into English. Conclude.
結論付ける。締めくくる。締結する。
We concluded that the new learning method was quite effective. Comfort.
快適さ。慰め。
In choosing a new home, most people look for comfort. Facility.
施設。設備。機能。才能。
The hospital has new facilities to treat seriously injured patients. Trait.
特性。
Children have different traits that make up their personalities. Humanity.
人類。人間性。人情。
It is regrettable that humanity is destroying biodiversity. Tribe.
部族。
The conflict among the tribes in the country is far from being over. Elite.
エリート。
A century ago, a doctor was considered to be a member of social elite. Lawyer.
弁護士、
Lawyers generally specialize in civil or criminal cases. Category.
部類、区分、
There are three main categories of warfare: limited war, civil war, and total war. Version.
本、製品などの版、解釈、
Articles in online newspapers are often shortened versions of the originals. Diversity.
多様性、相違点、
The big issue here is the lack of diversity in our modern diet. Proportion.
割合、部分、釣り合い、
The proportion of consumer spending on services has actually declined. Instrument.
器具、楽器、
Thomas devised a number of useful surgical instruments. Innovation.
革新、新機軸、
25 million digital books will be made thanks to technological innovation. Weapon.
兵器、武器、
A lot of people wish there would be no weapons in the world. Dialect.
方言、
In Tokyo, you can hear dialects from all over Japan. Barrier.
障壁、防壁、境界線、
The cultural differences between the countries are a strong barrier against mutual understanding. Myth.
作り話、神話、
It is a total myth that men are better drivers than women. Ritual.
儀式、習慣的行為、
Initiating a ritual is often difficult, but maintaining it is relatively easy. Routine.
決まりきった仕事、いつもの手順、
When he was home, he followed a daily routine. Emergency.
緊急、緊急事態、
Please be sure to contact us in an emergency. Alarm.
不安、警報、
The effects of recent changes in eating habits are causing alarm. Harvest.
収穫、収穫物、漁獲高、
A poor harvest could lead to widespread starvation. Grain.
穀物、粒、きめ、
Their diet consists mostly of grain, corn, beans, potatoes, and fruit. Quantity.
量、
The quality of water is as important as its quantity. Budget.
予算、経費、
Due to budget cuts, we have to cut overtime pay. Expense.
経費、費用、犠牲、
This amount of money is not enough to cover both tuition and living expenses. Insurance.
保険、保険料、保険金、
Many part-timers are now entitled to health insurance. Loan.
貸付金、融資、貸付、
Microfinance offers small loans to low-income clients. Contract.
契約、契約書、協定、
They will not sign the shipping contract unless those conditions are met. Mammal.
哺乳動物、
One characteristic of mammals is that the female produces milk for her young. Infant.
乳児、幼児、
Infants tend to follow the direction of others' eyes. Protein.
タンパク質、
Eating food high in protein helps us to develop muscular bodies. Tissue.
生物の組織、ティッシュペーパ
MRIs are good for looking at soft tissue in the body. Fault.
ー、責任、欠点、誤り、
The truck driver insisted the accident was my fault. Neighborhood.
地域、近所、
It was her dream to live in a respectable neighborhood. Vote.
投票、投票結果、選挙権、
In political elections, actual votes are cast anonymously. Duty.
義務、職務、関税、
Doctors have duties to society as well as to patients. Psychology.
心理学、
She entered California State University to study child psychology. Intelligent.
聡明な、知能を有する、
They are not only attractive but also intelligent. Conscious.
意識して、気づいて、
People in England are said to be very conscious of class differences. Cognitive.
認知の、
Few areas of science arouse as much controversy as cognitive neuroscience. Sensitive.
敏感な、神経質な、微妙な、
A leader must be sensitive to the needs of other people. Accurate.
正確な、精密な、
What I need is accurate information on the experiments. Strict.
厳格な、厳しい、
Fathers and mothers tend to be strict with their first child. Severe.
厳しい、猛烈な、
All states impose severe penalties on drunken drivers. Actual.
実際の、
In most actual situations in American speech, commands are disguised as questions. Visual.
視覚の、目に見える、
Visual information is memorized in a part of the brain called the hippocampus. False.
誤った、嘘の、偽の、
An illusion is an idea which you think is true but is in fact false. Illegal.
違法の、不法の、
Talking on the cell phone while driving is illegal in many places in the U.S. Violent.
暴力的な、人、 気質が激しい。
The rate of violent crime has risen over the last 10 years. Military.
軍の
The west coast of Florida functioned primarily as a military area. Civil.
市民の民間の民事の
The government's plan ran into strong opposition from civil rights campaigners. Typical.
典型的な特有の
This temple is a typical example of ancient Japanese architecture. Universal.
普遍的な宇宙の万能の
Education is a universal human right. Constant.
絶え間ない一定の
The growth of industrial society had given rise to a constant search for new sources of energy. Fundamental.
基本的な必須の
Didn't Plato remark that the fundamental attitude of the philosopher is wonder? Primary.
最も重要な第一の初等の初等教育の
The minister said his primary concern was to raise educational standards in schools. Rare.
珍しい希少な
We have to take measures to save rare species from extinction. Convenient.
便利な都合のいい
Email is a convenient way by which we communicate with foreign people. Enormous.
巨大な莫大な
Australia is an enormous country, most of which is sparsely inhabited.
Concentrate.
集中する
I cannot concentrate on reading while people around me are talking. Investigate.
調査する究明する
The police are still investigating the accident. Adjust.
調整する適合させる順応する
It's quite difficult to adjust the brightness of my computer screen. Arrange.
段取りをつける手配する配置する
We have arranged new projects to develop more powerful engines. Alter.
変える変わる
Industrialization altered the pace of people's lives. Confirm.
確認する
The postal clerk confirmed my identity before handing me the express letter. Absorb.
吸収する併合する
One tree can absorb 10 pounds of carbon dioxide every year. Expose.
晒す暴露する露出する
You should not expose yourself to too much sunlight in summer. Transfer.
移す伝える移る乗り換える
The internet allows us to transfer money from one bank account to another. Abandon.
捨てる放棄する
I abandoned the broken bike and walked back home. Injure.
傷つける損なう
Apart from a small cut to his face, he was not injured. Recover.
回復する取り戻す
Biodiversity provides the resilience to recover from climate disasters. Praise.
称賛する賛美する
The internet has been praised as the world's greatest tool for democratization. Favor.
賛成する好むひいきする
Many people in the country favor harsher penalties for drug crimes. Celebrate.
祝う挙行する
My grandfather celebrated his 70th birthday last Sunday. Guarantee.
保証する
In an ideal world, just one language would guarantee mutual understanding and peace. Ensure.
確実にする守る
The government should ensure that the project meets the citizens' needs. Award.
授与する裁定する
Michael Phelps was awarded 8 Olympic gold medals during the 2008 Games in Beijing. Grant.
与える認める
Hawaii was granted statehood in 1959. Permit.
許可する
Playing musical instruments is not permitted in this dormitory. Disappoint.
失望させる希望などをくじく
He promised me he would work hard so as not to disappoint me. Embarrass.
恥ずかしい思いをさせる
We need not be embarrassed to admit we do not know. Bother.
悩ます気にかける
As long as I am healthy, being a bit overweight doesn't bother me. Upset.
動揺させるダメにする
Something you wrote in your email upset your friend. Inform.
知らせる情報を提供する
I informed the company of my new phone number last week. Warn.
警告する
The police are warning the public to be on the alert for suspicious packages. Command.
命じる指揮する支配する見渡せる操る
Go outside at once and wash your filthy hands, her mother commanded. Imply.
暗に意味する必然的に伴う
The very idea of a society implies that its members have responsibilities. Pretend.
ふりをする
Being reluctant to answer the door, he often pretends to be out. Interpret.
解釈する通訳する
I interpreted his silence as a sign of dissatisfaction. React.
反応する化学反応を起こす
Monkeys often react to drugs in the same way that humans do. Interact.
影響し合う 相互に作用する。
Living things interact with each other and with their environment. Differ.
異なる。
Weather satellites differ from Landsat satellites in the types of information they collect. Breathe.
呼吸する。吸う。
When we laugh, we breathe quickly. Stare.
じっと見る。
Americans don't like it if you just stare at them silently. Breed.
飼育する。繁殖させる。繁殖する。生じる。
Some zoos are trying to breed rare animals. Melt.
溶ける。和む。溶かす。
I hear that the snow at the top of Mount Kilimanjaro is melting. Invest.
投資する。与える。
Our company has invested a lot of money in the new project. Manufacture.
製造する。でっち上げる。
In ancient Egypt, perfume was already manufactured in factories. Construct.
建設する。構成する。
The government does not have sufficient funds to construct the new airport. Wisdom.
知恵。学識。
Human growth is a process of experimentation, ultimately leading to wisdom. Insight.
洞察力。見識。
I want my son to grow up to be a man of insight. Discipline.
規律。しつけ。訓練。懲戒。学問分野。
He regarded his father's discipline as key to his success. Habitat.
生息地。居住地。
These birds will become extinct unless we preserve their natural habitat. Territory.
領土。領域。
A state has a territory and an organized government. Colony.
植民地。居留地。コロニー。
As the British colonies gained independence, English continued to be used. District.
地区。行政区。
There are more casual clothing stores in this once super stylish district in Tokyo. Shelter.
避難。避難所。保護。
Meteorologists warned people to find shelter from the approaching hurricane. Landscape.
風景。領域。
The Australian landscape is beautiful beyond description. Inhabitant.
住民。生息動物。
The continual aftershocks terrified the village inhabitants. Depression.
憂鬱。うつ病。不況。低気圧。
He was in a state of depression following an argument with his girlfriend. Nerve.
神経。神経過敏。度胸。
The nerves can detect subtle changes of temperature and pressure. Wound.
傷。痛手。
Surgeons can use robotic devices to repair wounds. Symptom.
症状。兆候。
Experienced doctors would never miss symptoms of such illnesses. Therapy.
療法。心理療法。
Why did music therapy work so well for these patients? Welfare.
福祉。幸福。
We are all responsible for each other's security and welfare. Incident.
出来事。事件。紛争。
In this neighborhood, we have had no terrible incidents for a long time. Witness.
目撃者。証人。証拠。証言。
Mary showed herself to the police as a witness to the accident. Glance.
ちらっと見ること。
Kanji is very useful to express an idea at a glance. Ray.
光線。
Many people use skin cream to protect their faces from the rays of the sun. Ingredient.
成分。材料。要素。
He wanted to know the calories and ingredients of the food. Agent.
仲介者。代理人。薬剤。
One of our rental agents will be with you in a moment. Fee.
料金。謝礼。
Some people climbed over the fence to avoid paying the entrance fee. Sacrifice.
犠牲。生贄。
He made a lot of sacrifices to accomplish his goal. Burden.
負担。義務。積み荷。
In most countries, people fight over the tax burden on citizens. Layer.
層。
The brain has two halves and is covered with thin layers of skin. Row.
列。通り。
Flowers were planted in rows on each side of the path. Instruction.
指示。使用書。
The work was done according to his instructions. Editor.
編集者。
There are cases where editors change phrases and content in translations. Stuff.
物。素材。素質。
We throw away lots of stuff, which is a serious problem. Mission.
使命。使節団。
The filmmaker's mission is to get the viewer to see things in a particular way. Procedure.
手続き。措置。
The government wants to create a procedure to prove the identity of every citizen. Immigration.
外国からの移住。入国管理事務所。
Through immigration, England and the USA are adding to their workforce. Hybrid.
ハイブリッド車。雑種。混成物。
Hybrids are heavier than other cars because of their batteries. Opponent.
試合。論争などの相手。反対者。
You should acknowledge your opponent's good performance when he or she wins. Outcome.
結果、
The teacher asked us to predict the outcome of the experiment. Equality.
平等、対等。
In Sweden and Denmark, emphasis is placed on gender equality at work. Reputation.
評判、
He had a wonderful reputation, but he was really a thief. Capable.
能力がある、有能な。
The Kepler probe launched by the US is not capable of detecting life itself. Proper.
適切な、正式の、固有の。
A lack of proper sanitation and water storage facilities can cause epidemics of waterborne diseases. Sufficient.
十分な、
I don't have sufficient space on my current computer for music files. Reasonable.
合理的な、分別のある、手頃な。
His argument seemed reasonable at first. Linguistic.
言語の、
The professor spoke about the linguistic development of infants. Verbal.
言葉の、口頭での、蓄語的な。
There are two ways of communication, verbal and nonverbal. Bilingual.
二言語を使う。
Bilingual people can usually switch from one language to the other with ease. Contemporary.
現代の、同時代の、同年配の。
This National Museum has numerous works of contemporary art. Conventional.
従来の、月並みな。
Science sometimes requires the courage to question conventional wisdom. Overall.
全体的な。
The nationwide scholastic tests measure only part of children's overall abilities. Widespread.
広範囲にわたる。広く普及した。
The development of cities in modern times was so rapid and widespread. Domestic.
家庭の、国内の、飼いならされた。
Being exposed to domestic violence may cause emotional problems in children. Distant.
遠い、隔たった。
A horse came running up from a distant field. Nuclear.
核の、原子力の。
We are discussing whether or not we should use nuclear energy to make electricity. Thick.
厚い、太い、濃い。
The old man was sitting in his favorite chair, holding a thick book. Contrary.
反対の。
Contrary to his expectations, Peter ran out of money halfway through his vacation. Virtual.
仮想の、事実上の。
In chat rooms, subscribers can have virtual conversations with each other. Aggressive.
攻撃的な、意欲的な。
Many drivers feel that using their horns can be interpreted as being aggressive. Evil.
邪悪な、有害な。
In those days, we considered power evil and ambition ridiculous. Elementary.
初級の、基本的な。
Is it a good idea to teach English in elementary school? Annual.
1年間の、年1回の、例年の。
The company's annual production of cars rose sharply last year. Immediate.
即座の、当面の、すぐそばの、直接の。
You should be aware that poisonous snake bites need immediate medical care.
Admire.
感嘆する、
I greatly admired the works of Le Corbusier. Approve.
賛成する、承認する。
I don't approve of children spending too much time playing video games. Devote.
捧げる、
My sister devoted her life to the study of medicine. Pursue.
追求する、従事する。
Any person has the right to pursue happiness. Dominate.
支配する、優勢である。
The early Renaissance was dominated by the Florentine artists. Possess.
所有している、誰々の心を捉える。
Most animals possess some kind of signaling communication system. Occupy.
空間、時間を占める。占領する。
A woman can always find plenty to occupy her time. Secure.
確保する。守る。
It is difficult for Japan to secure adequate food for its people from within its own borders. Capture.
捉える。引きつける。
At the age of 16, St. Patrick was captured by Irish invaders. Lend.
貸す。人に物を与える。
What happened to that book I lent you last summer? Rent.
ちんがりする。ちんがしする。
The Johnsons rented an apartment when they lived in Tokyo. Persuade.
説得する。確信させる。
Commercial advertising tries to persuade us to buy a product or service. Urge.
促す。強く主張する。追い立てる。
The government is urging people to be economical with water. Stimulate.
刺激する。
Hunger stimulates our stomach to contract rhythmically. Annoy.
悩ます。受け身系で腹が立つ。
Linda used to annoy her coworkers by always complaining. Scare.
怯えさせる。脅す。
What is it about flying that scares you so much? Crash.
衝突する。墜落する。ぶつけて壊す。
A train crashed into another, killing 9 and injuring about 50. Collapse.
崩壊する。人が倒れる。 折りたたむ、
The city authorities pulled down the bridge that was about to collapse. Remark.
述べる、意見を述べる。
One of my friends sarcastically remarked that she was amazed by my knowledge. Illustrate.
説明する、挿絵を入れる。
Here is an anecdote which well illustrates this enthusiasm for investment. Protest.
抗議する、主張する。
The two English poets were protesting against the First World War. Declare.
宣言する、申告する。
The UN declared that everyone has a right to food. Isolate.
孤立させる、
The villages are reported to be isolated by the heavy snow. Accompany.
同行する、付随する。
Tim accompanies his 5-year-old daughter wherever she goes. Surround.
取り巻く、まつわる。
We know so little about the oceans that surround us. Endanger.
危険にさらす。
He endangered his life by reckless driving. Exhaust.
疲れ果てさせる。使い尽くす。廃棄する。
At the end of the event, I was exhausted. Disturb.
かき乱す。邪魔する。不安にする。
It is possible for people to disturb the balance of nature without meaning to. Puzzle.
当惑させる。
I was puzzled that she had never mentioned that she had a brother. Quit.
やめる。去る。
Everybody was surprised when the new employee suddenly quit the company. Cope.
うまく処理する。
Cities cannot cope with the enormous influx of people. Enhance.
価値などを高める。
Consumers need to figure out which services enhance their lives. Ease.
軽減する。和らぐ。緩む。
To ease these symptoms, people consume a small dose of caffeine. Apologize.
謝る。弁明する。
I do apologize for any inconvenience I have caused. Acknowledge.
認める。謝意を表す。
Until disaster strikes, we usually do not acknowledge its power. Resemble.
似ている。
He resembles his father in appearance. Swallow.
飲み込む。鵜呑みにする。耐える。
She swallowed some of the pills in the medicine chest. Distribute.
分配する。受け身系で分布する。
They distributed free tickets on a first-come, first-served basis. Export.
輸出する。
The inspectors checked food products exported from the region. Launch.
開始する。売り出す。発射する。
Thailand launched a national healthcare program in 2001. Justice.
公正。正義。司法。
The lawyer said that he was determined to get justice for his client. Courage.
勇気。
It took courage for Michael to do what he did. Passion.
情熱。熱中。激怒。
I was pleased to find that some young people still have a passion for politics. Bond.
絆。債権。束縛。接着剤。
Their bond was so remarkable that they spent most of their lives together. Companion.
連れ。仲間。
Whether you enjoy your trip or not will depend mainly on who your traveling companions are. Mood.
気分。機嫌。雰囲気。
In cognitive realms, colors may affect performance because of the mood they transmit. Prejudice.
偏見。
Action based on prejudice results in unfair treatment of people. Discrimination.
差別。区別。
That woman took a firm stand against gender discrimination. Priority.
優先。優先事項。
The company gives high priority to improved production methods. Globe.
地球。世界。球。
The human species has probably been on this globe for a couple of million years. Hemisphere.
半球。
In the northern hemisphere, the forested area is actually increasing. Boundary.
境界。境界線。限界。
The state possesses absolute power within its territorial boundaries. Asteroid.
小惑星。人手。
Near-Earth asteroids are a real threat to life on Earth. Gravity.
重力。引力。重量。重大さ。
Gravity is an attractive force. It attracts comets toward the sun. Component.
構成要素。部品。
Preventive care is a major component of health reform. Liquid.
液体。
At airports, we cannot take most liquids aboard planes. Orbit.
軌道。範囲。
Regular satellites have orbits which are nearly circular in shape. Trace.
痕跡。微量。
In her Japanese, there is no trace that her mother language is English. Treasure.
宝物。財産。
The painting of Christ in the museum is a national treasure. Logic.
論理。道理。原理。
When you read, you must evaluate all arguments for logic and fairness. Council.
議会。評議会。会議。
China holds some very limited elections for village councils. Profession.
職業。専門職。同業者仲間。
When choosing a profession, you should take into account many factors, not just pay and conditions. Secretary.
秘書。事務官。長官。
I handed the list of the document numbers to my secretary. jury.
陪審、陪審員団、審査員団。
In Britain, only 1% of criminal cases end up before juries. Physician.
内科医、
Your physician can perform a careful physical exam and some blood tests. Surgeon.
外科医、軍医。
During the early part of the Middle Ages, there were no trained surgeons in Europe. Guard.
護衛者、監視、警戒。
He used to work as a security guard in Waikiki. License.
免許、免許証。
He almost forgot to renew his driver's license. Grocery.
食料雑貨、食料雑貨店。
She gets her groceries delivered to her doorstep. Litter.
ゴミ、乱雑な状態。
We make the rounds of our campus and pick up litter. Drought.
干ばつ、不足。
A drought can destroy crops that need rainwater to grow properly. Blaze.
炎、強い輝き。
Easing winds and lower temperatures helped keep the blaze from spreading. Trap.
罠、苦境。
The pressure to occupy free time with stimulating activity is called the lifestyle trap. Fate.
運命、結末、最後。
Surviving an aircraft crash is not a matter of fate. Luxury.
贅沢、贅沢品。形容詞的に豪華な。
I think it's kind of a luxury to drink a lot of bottled water. Exception.
例外。
In each country, there are jealous people, and Japan is no exception. Sum.
金額、合計、要点。
The bank's losses over the year amounted to a huge sum. Conservation.
動植物などの保護、保存。
The NGO drew up a research project for penguin conservation. Democratic.
民主主義の、民主的な。
Because of a new democratic government, the people will have more freedom. Numerous.
非常に数の多い。
Kyoto attracts numerous foreign tourists every year. Minor.
小さい。重要でない。
I had a minor accident while cycling in Europe. Superior.
より優れた。
Many people believe that their own culture is superior to all other cultures. Principle.
主要な。資本金の。
In ancient times, metallic toothpicks provided the principal means of caring for one's teeth. Crucial.
重要な。厳しい。
Consumption plays a crucial role in our social lives. Vital.
必要不可欠な。生き生きした。生命に関わる。
Conversation is vital to our development and fulfillment as human beings. Rational.
理性的な。合理的な。
A rational person is able to think clearly based on reason. Anxious.
心配して。切望して。
He was anxious about the result of his job interview. Curious.
好奇心の強い。奇妙な。
In curious people, internal growth takes place regardless of the outcome. Rude.
無礼な。そやな。
Cell phone users seem to have no idea how rude they can be. Remote.
遠く離れた。かけ離れた。
I wondered what life was like in such a remote place. Tropical.
熱帯の。
In Indonesia, there are some of the Earth's most biologically diverse tropical forests. Marine.
海の。船舶の。
Simple marine animals called corals formed the Great Barrier Reef over thousands of years. Extraordinary.
異常な。並外れた。
I was shocked at a series of extraordinary events in the past few days. Odd.
奇妙な。奇数の。
They regard tipping as an odd custom in a free market economy. Biological.
生物学の。生物学上の。
Even a tiny organism contains a biological clock. Racial.
人種の。民族の。
This might lead to ethnic tensions and racial problems. Initial.
はじめの。
She held to her initial proposal despite strong opposition from others. Distinct.
明らかに異なる。明瞭な。
The North and South Islands have two distinct rainfall patterns. Pure.
純粋な。潔白な。全くの。
Americans feel that British English is purer than American English. Exact.
正確な。まさにその。
She tried to make an exact copy of the Mona Lisa.
Sustain.
持続させる。支える。
This project is vital if we are to sustain our living standards. Defend.
防御する。弁護する。
Some people use guns to defend themselves from criminals. Foster.
促進する。養育する。心に抱く。
The study of economics helps foster logical thinking. Pile.
積み重ねる。積み重なる。
Little by little, humans have piled up a mountain of discoveries. Attach.
つける。付与する。
Please attach a label with your name on it to each piece of baggage. Pour.
注ぐ。放出する。激しく降る。押し寄せる。
She poured warm milk into the feeding bottle. Load.
積む。負わせる。
All these trucks are loaded with relief goods. Stretch.
伸ばす。広げる。伸びる。及ぶ。
I stood up to stretch my back. Convey.
伝える。運ぶ。
Speech is mainly used to convey facts and data. Derive.
由来する、引き出す、推論する。
I didn't know the word ozone derives from Greek. Tap.
有効利用する、引き出す、軽く叩く。
Electric vehicles are able to tap into existing power networks. Calculate.
計算する、予測する。
Using the survey results, Marshall calculated the size of the orangutan population. Suspect.
何々ではないかと思う。疑う。
I suspect you might be somewhat vague and uncertain. Detect.
感知する。見つけ出す。
Birds are able to detect the magnetic field of the earth. Attribute.
結果などを記する。
A medical researcher attributed the problem of obesity to the surroundings. Evaluate.
評価する。査定する。
Stock markets can correctly evaluate seemingly inexplicable events. Accuse.
非難する。告訴する。
The company was accused of not providing enough information about the accident. Sue.
告訴する。訴訟を起こす。
The tire and rubber company had not been sued before he started the lawsuit. Retire.
引退する。退職する。
After people retire, they collect their pensions and also often use the healthcare system. Shrink.
縮む。減少する。ひるむ。
Woolen clothes shrink in hot water. Bow.
お辞儀する。屈服する。
Many Asian people bow when they greet one another. Peer.
じっと見る。
He was peering closely at the winding branches along the wall. Delight.
喜ばせる。大いに喜ぶ。
The mere idea of my father being elected president delighted me. Relieve.
和らげる。受け身系で安心する。解放する。
Environmental conditions can intensify or relieve loneliness. Discourage.
やる気をなくさせる。落胆させる。
We bought security cameras to discourage robbers. Frustrate.
挫折させる。受け身系で不満を抱く。
Structural and stability problems seem to have frustrated the gliding enthusiasts. Neglect.
怠る。無視する。
You have long neglected your studies because of the trip. Resist.
抵抗する。耐える。
Older adults resist new ideas while students do not. Restrict.
制限する。
The bill to restrict juries was approved by the government. Eliminate.
取り除く。
We must come up with measures to eliminate drugs from society. Beat.
打つ。打ち負かす。
The man hung up the carpet and began to beat it. Defeat.
負かす。失敗させる。
My favorite soccer team was badly defeated in the final match. Punish.
罰する。損傷を与える。
Bars can be severely punished if they serve alcohol to minors. Prohibit.
禁止する。
The city's committee prohibited plastic checkout bags at supermarkets. Deserve.
値する。
He worked hard and deserves a big bonus. Pose.
提起する。ポーズを取る。装う。
This situation poses a number of problems in the short term. Fold.
折りたたむ。畳める。腕などを組む。
He folded up his bike and carried it onto the train. Monitor.
監視する。傍受する。
Policemen routinely monitor eye movement during interviews. Specialize.
専門とする。先行する。
Some lawyers specialize in civil cases such as divorces. Accomplish.
成し遂げる。
Those who don't take risks will accomplish nothing in life. Faith.
信頼。信仰。信仰心。
What I have lost due to the election is my faith in practical politics. Ambition.
野望。野心。
His ambition to become a politician is likely to be realized. Enthusiasm.
熱情。
He wasn't sure if he would regain enthusiasm for swimming. Honor.
光栄。名誉。敬意。
It's my honor to introduce today's guest, Ms. White. Discount.
割引。
New customers can get a 10% discount at the store. Fare.
乗り物の料金。
The cost of the airfare is much higher than that of the rail fare. Frame.
枠。縁。骨組み。体格。
Her hair is a dark brown color, matching the frames of her glasses. Mode.
方式。気分。形態。流行。
The United States uses many modes of transportation. Architecture.
建築。建築様式。構造。
The area is widely known for its modern architecture. Sequence.
一連。一連のもの。連続。
They described the sequence of events in minute detail. Usage.
語法。使用。使用法。
Are there languages that are easier than others with respect to rules of usage? Abuse.
乱用。虐待。
For some people, watching TV is a form of substance abuse. Pesticide.
殺虫剤。除草剤。
We must be careful to keep the pesticide out of children's reach. Pollen.
花粉、
The pollen from trees and grasses causes hay fever. Prefecture.
県、府、
Most of the students are from Aichi Prefecture. Geography.
地理、地理学、
The history of Belize has been shaped mainly by its geography. Administration.
管理、管理部、行政、政府、政府機関、
The new president made many reforms to the company's administration. Candidate.
候補、候補者、志願者、
They had not yet decided for which candidate they would vote. Rubbish.
ゴミ、つまらないもの、
In that country, about 80% of household rubbish goes to landfills. Bias.
偏見、傾向、
Our biases influence the choices we make. Vice.
悪、欠点、
Eliminating competition in society would lead to laziness and vice. Debt.
借金、恩義、
He spends far more than he earns and is in debt. Prospect.
見込み、展望、有望な人、
That sales project has very good prospects. Expedition.
遠征、遠征隊、
He went on a series of expeditions in Europe. Session.
集まり、会期、議会、
My section is planning a training session for new employees next month. Semester.
楽器、
I guess you'll have lots of reports to write next semester. Reef.
章、暗礁、
Coral builds reefs near the shores of continents. Mineral.
鉱物、ミネラル、
The Republic of the Congo is a country rich in minerals. Sibling.
兄弟、
Older children think themselves more responsible than their younger siblings. Proverb.
ことわざ、
Proverbs can tell us a lot about a particular culture. Instinct.
本能、衝動、勘、
Migrating birds know by instinct which direction to fly in. Minimum.
最小限度、
The time that most people spend at work is only the accepted minimum. Millennium.
千年間、千年期、
The economic influence of the East will become stronger in the next millennium. Donor.
寄贈者、臓器、血液提供者、
The name of the picture's donor was written next to it. Herd.
群れ、群衆、
On the open grasslands of Kenya, herds of zebras and elephants graze. League.
連盟、競技連盟、同盟、
In the college league, matches are composed of 5 rounds. Cooperation.
協力、
Through cooperation, these companies have reduced pollution. Fairy.
妖精のような、
Fairy tales are part of an oral tradition. Precise.
正確な、精密な、まさにその、
The precise height of the tower is 634 meters. Intense.
強烈な、熱烈な、
Relentless, intense stress can eventually exhaust anyone. Solid.
固体の、頑丈な、
Ice is a solid substance that water has frozen into. Permanent.
永続的な、
These toxins cause permanent damage to the human body. Brief.
短い、簡潔な、
For a brief moment, we looked at each other in surprise. Flexible.
融通の利く、柔軟な、
People who believe intelligence is fixed are less flexible. Informal.
形式ばらない、略式の、
Real speech is filled with idioms and informal language. Temporary.
一時的な、
We care more about our friends than our temporary neighbors. Frequent.
頻繁な、
Snowfalls have become less frequent due to global climate change. Visible.
目に見える、明白な、
Culture is not itself visible, but is made visible through its representation. External.
外部の、対外的な、表面的な、
You never solely describe the external world even in a poem. Internal.
内部の、国内の、内面的な、
I have been successful in the internal corporate competition. Plain.
明らかな、平易な、率直な、
It's plain that the more happiness you feel, the less unhappiness you experience. Modest.
謙虚な、適度な、質素な、
In almost every society, modest people are admired. Equivalent.
等しい、相当する、
10,000 lux is roughly equivalent to outdoor light. Incredible.
信じられない、素晴らしい、
We are always amazed by his incredible piano performances. Guilty.
罪悪感のある、有罪の、
I feel guilty about visiting her so rarely. Raw.
生の、未加工の、
Quite often, Japanese food is served raw or cooked lightly. Manual.
体を使う、手の、手動式の、
There are many factories that still need manual labor. Literary.
文学の、文語の、
Their writing resembles the work of literary giants such as Kawabata. Artificial.
人工の、不自然な、
Esperanto is what is called an artificial language. Sophisticated.
洗練された、精巧な。
A lot of British comedy is sophisticated and subtle.